This is a reaction video to a report titled Man Sharing, originally featured on the Hezekiah News and Films YouTube channel. Now, for those who've never seen it, this old report dives into the topic of multiple women being involved with one man openly, as if it were something progressive or empowering. But when you really listen, you can hear the undertone of an agenda that's been quietly pushed on Black communities for decades. Let's be clear, this isn't just about relationships. This is about control, about weakening the structure that once made our community strong, the Black family unit. Back in the 1980s, the term man sharing was being promoted as an acceptable alternative for women who couldn't find a man. But what it really did was normalize dysfunction, creating a false belief that it's natural for one man to juggle multiple women while the women silently accept it. That same mindset has evolved into what we now see promoted in modern culture, where infidelity, side relationships, and baby mama culture are praised instead of questioned. If you look at the celebrity world today, there's Nick Cannon, who has 12 children with 6 different women. Out of all 6, he only married and divorced one, Mariah Carey, the mother of his twins. The media presents him as playful, successful, even spiritual. But what's missing from the conversation is how this behavior affects the children emotionally, the mothers mentally, and the community as a whole. The truth is, this isn't new. These same tactics were used decades ago to separate, confuse, and weaken the Black household. It's the same formula with a different name. When you trace this idea of mass sharing or modern polygamy, it doesn't come from African tradition the way some people like to claim. That's a modern myth. Historically, most African tribes practice structured, responsibility-based family systems, not the emotional chaos we see today. And the majority of human societies throughout history, regardless of race or region, were actually monogamous. Why? Because stability builds nations. One man, one woman, raising children together in balance, that's what builds legacy. Anything that divides that balance leads to confusion, competition, and ultimately destruction. So before we jump to glorify having multiple women, we have to ask ourselves, who benefits when the Black man stops leading one family and starts spreading himself across several? Let's dig deeper into this idea that humans, especially Black men, are naturally polygamous. That statement is one of the biggest lies ever told, and has been used to manipulate and justify the destruction of the family unit. When we look at the earliest human civilizations, from Kemet ancient Egypt to early Mesopotamia, the foundation of society was family stability. Yes, some kings or rulers had multiple wives, but that was never the norm for the average man. It was a symbol of wealth and power, not divine design. Regular people live monogamously because that's what ensures survival, community structure, and the raising of balanced children. Fast forward to today, and that lie has been reshaped to sound like freedom. Men are meant to spread their seed, or women should accept being shared. But when you study both history and biology, the truth stands firm. Humans are pair-bonding creatures. From emotional attachment to parental cooperation, humans naturally form long-term bonds between two individuals. Science supports this. Our offspring require long-term care, unlike most animals. That's why stable two-parent homes have always been essential to human development. Now look at what's happening culturally. Our people have been told that polygamy or man-sharing is part of African roots, a spiritual return to our origins. But let's be real, the version being promoted today doesn't reflect traditional African family systems. It reflects westernized chaos dressed up as liberation. In African history, if a man took more than one wife, he was required to provide, protect, and maintain full accountability for every household. It wasn't for pleasure, clout, or ego. It was duty. In contrast, what's pushed on us now is a version of freedom that removes responsibility. We see men fathering children across multiple homes, rarely being fully present for any of them. We see women competing for attention instead of building unity. That's not African. That's manipulation. Social engineering disguised as culture. And it's no coincidence this mindset exploded right alongside the collapse of the Black family. The 1970s and 80s saw an increase in single-parent homes, mass incarceration, and media messages telling us that commitment is outdated. Then the 2000s and 2010s came along with the glorification of player culture, side chicks, and baby mama fame. The plan has always been the same: keep us divided at the family level, so we never unite at the community level. So when people today justify having multiple women as natural, remember this: Every empire that collapsed started with the breakdown of the home. The Romans, the Persians, the British, once morality and family unity dissolved, their societies followed. And the same principle applies here. Now let's bring this all the way home. What's being pushed today isn't about love, tradition, or freedom. It's about distraction and destruction. They want to glamorize a lifestyle that looks exciting on the surface, but leaves generations broken underneath. Look around at what the media feeds us every day. Reality shows, celebrity gossip, rap lyrics, all repeating the same message: men don't settle down. Women should compete for a man's attention, and commitment is optional. These ideas don't just entertain, they reshape values. When we hear it enough, we start to believe that family structure doesn't matter. But it does. Children raised in divided households often face emotional confusion, trust issues, and lack of consistency. They grow up seeing love as temporary and unstable. Daughters learn to expect inconsistency from men, and sons learn to repeat it. That's how cycles of pain become permanent. And while this chaos plays out in our homes, society profits. The system gains. More fractured families mean more control, more dependence, and less generational power. That's the real agenda. To convince us that being scattered is natural, that loyalty is outdated, and that it's okay to imitate a broken version of manhood that can't build or sustain legacy. Let's call it for what it is. Polygamy has been rebranded as freedom, but is functioning as a weapon that targets the very core of who we are: family, unity, and love. If we want to rebuild what's been taken from us, it starts with one man and one woman standing together, raising their children under love, structure, and purpose. That's not old-fashioned. That's divine order. Because when the Black family is strong, the Black nation is strong. And when the Black man values his seed enough to plant it in one garden and nurture it, we restore what they've been trying to destroy since the beginning. Now, with that being said, let's start the video.
Man sharing isn't the reality that just about every woman must deal with in the future?
Man sharing, where more than one woman shares a man simply because there are not enough unmarried men to go around so that every girl can have one of her own.
That's right, since the U.S. Census figures show there are 38 million unmarried women to 31 million unmarried men, which means that 7 million women will be left out in the cold if they don't share a man with someone else.
Well, I'm still trying to work out the arithmetic on the man. Our guest is family counselor Audrey Chapman, whose concept of man sharing has created quite a stir across the country.
Oh, she's with us live on City Line. Join us and share your ideas of man sharing.
Boy, welcome to City Line on a Super Bowl, Super Sunday, and we got a super show for you today.
Indeed.
Just before the Super Bowl comes on, we've got a very interesting show, man sharing. And talk about a stir. Audrey Chapman is a family therapist with the Howard University, and she started talking about this about a year ago, Audrey.
Well,
First of all, welcome to City Line.
It's nice to be here.
We're glad you could make it over from Washington today. You started this about a year ago, and the minute you said man sharing, everybody jumped all over you.
Well, I heard from everyone, including people out of the country. I've heard from people as far as Cuba, England, different parts of Germany. It's been really incredible.
Well, Audrey, I got to tell you, the first time I heard man sharing, I said, boy, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Where do I sign up? I mean, what are you teaching women how to other women's manners? You know.
Not at all. Actually, the concept came about because women were coming to me, friends, sometimes colleagues, and sometimes clients, complaining about being in a relationship that they thought was exclusive, finding out that, in fact, they were probably sharing the man with sometimes 1, 2, 3 other women. And then also having men come to them after a certain point in the relationship telling them that, in fact, it was going to be a sharing deal.
Do you know what, Audrey? What's new about that? I remember as a child, and I'm sure it went on long before I was a child, of one man having 2 and 3 families within a neighborhood. So what's new about man sharing?
That is very common. The only thing that's new about it is that women are saying, I don't like it, and I want to do something about it. I want to negotiate. That's what's different. In the past, women felt that they couldn't do anything about it, and they basically had to put up with it. They were more dependent and felt more dependent on men, and that they just had to go along with the program.
But isn't this whole movement kind of anti-male? I mean, you're telling women now how to deal with a situation that's existed for years and years.
All women are saying is, I want as much control over my life as you appear to have over yours. I want to pick and choose who I relate to and how. And that's what's going on.
I want to remind everybody at home that you can join in our discussion by calling 481-1313. And believe it or not, even before we said that, we've got a phone call.
Oh, yeah, I think I've already memorized that number. They're excited about your being here. Let's get them on the line right now. Hi, do you want to talk to Audrey?
Hi, yes. I am a black male that's currently being shared by 3 different ladies. And it's more by circumstances than by choice. The ladies are very career-orientated, and they have been in past relationships where they have been hurt, and they're just simply afraid of their emotional life, that they're afraid to really deal with a basic one-on-one relationship. They're afraid of being hurt, so therefore they turn all their energies to career. Where personally, I would love to have a one-on-one relationship. What's the guy supposed to do? Put an ad in the paper? I mean, saying, hey, I'm this great guy.
A lot of people do that, by the way.
Audrey, talk back to you at this point.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's the other part of the phenomena of the sharing element. Part of it these days is to reduce the potential of being hurt, of feeling vulnerable, because people are getting hurt out there, because a lot of our standards have changed in the way that we relate to each other. Did a workshop yesterday on commitment phobia, and I really believe that that's the origin of what this man sharing is really all about. That if you multiply your relationships, the likelihood of you getting intensely involved is not as great. So you find that if you want to have a serious relationship, sometimes it is difficult. I think initially the men felt threatened because of all the changes that were going on in relationships. And then the women began to feel threatened. And now everybody is playing this 2-for-2 game.
Audrey
Thank you,
Chapman.
caller.
Audrey Chapman, family therapist from Howard University, is our guest today. This topic is man sharing. You can join in at 481-1313, and we're going to come right back with more man sharing after this.
We've got a hot topic today. There's no doubt about it. It's man sharing. We're talking with Audrey Chapman, family counselor at Howard University. And Dan said that if you want to talk with us, call us at 481-1313, but share your experiences, by the way, if you are indeed sharing your mate with someone. Audrey,
Whether you know it or not.
suspected. Audrey, what's the bottom line of the seminars that you conduct across the country? You're not really teaching women how to cheat, or how to go with married men, or how to steal each other's men, or are you?
No, although they do come in all of those categories. I'm actually teaching them how to cope with the pain that's associated with having to be in a multiple relationship, or the guilt. For women who choose to do it, and some decide, well, it's better to join them than to fight, they feel guilty about it because society hasn't changed that much. There's still the whole issue of women needing to appear anyway to be more chaste than men. And so the moment a woman advocates that she is sharing, then she has to deal with the backlash of how people feel about that, particularly other men.
It is a painful situation, isn't it, for a woman to share, knowingly, of course, sharing, because it's odd man out. I can imagine at holidays and special occasions and so forth. How does she handle that? How does she deal with that?
There's an incredible feeling of, I must not be worth anything, or I must not be as important as the other person. What's wrong with me? People tend to feel victimized, used, rejected, and they do become very, sometimes even dysfunctional around this whole issue.
What do you tell them?
I tell them that, first of all, they have to work very hard on self-respect, having some clear goals themselves about what it is that they want to bring into a relationship. That most of us think that we have to go these days and get something out of a relationship, and that's going to make our life better. But we're not talking anymore about what we could bring to a relationship, how we can give in a relationship. Everybody wants to get something, and nobody wants to give because everybody's feeling afraid. If they give, they're going to be vulnerable, they're going to be used, they're going to be dependent. We're all trying to play it safe out here, and everybody is feeling very dissatisfied as a result of it.
Take another call. Hi, do you want to share an experience with us today?
Oh.
Do you want to share an experience with us?
My experience is that I am sharing a married man. And to be truthful, I didn't know that he was married. Because when I first met him, he did not tell me. I have done several things to try to break the relationship. But he insists on the fact that he loves me. I know I do love him dearly, and I don't want anyone else. But just like the lady I had said, sharing the holidays, I get his birthday. He travels a lot. He sends for me. He flies me wherever I want to go when he's there. And that's nice, but I don't know what else to do. I'm tired of it, even though I do love him. But he's threatened to bodily harm to me also if I do leave him. I really don't know what to do.
Statistics show that one of the things that a lot of women don't realize is statistics show that rarely do married men leave their families, number one. And a lot of women don't seem to understand that. So we make a full-time job out of trying to get the man to leave and come to be with us, and that's just not going to happen. And in fact, what happens is that you lose the few things that you could have that you could enjoy in the relationship because you spend so much energy trying to break up his relationship with his wife. I think you have to make a decision. I think that one of the things that I advocate is that life is a series of choices, and that if you chose to be in that relationship, even if you didn't know initially, at some point you found out, you remained in it. So you have to make some decisions about how you're going to be in that relationship so that you can get the max of what you need out of it, or you really need to work on ways to move out.
Thank you.
Audrey, I think probably in the last couple of years it's been very well reported about the large or the disproportionate number of women in Washington to men. Is this a Washington problem, or is this, I don't feel it in Baltimore, I guess, as much as I feel it in Washington.
Washington has a lot of myths. I think it's a 7-to-1 myth, but there are a lot of men in Washington. Part of the problem I find as I go across the country, and I've been traveling for several months now, talking to women and men, and that is that no matter where you go, people are talking about shortage. On the West Coast, they say there are more gay men out there, or there are more men that are relating interracially, so we have less men.
That's a good point. The statistics female really don't mean a lot.
They really don't.
When you pull in the
There are all these other things, variables, that really play into the picture. And I also think another big variable, particularly in Washington, D.C., I find in New York City, is our selection process. It's not the kind of person. It's what that person is, what they can bring, what they drive, what type of house they live in, what kind of income they have, how they look. And all those things that have to be, we're looking for copy-ready people.
Instead of
a human being that might have some shortcomings, that may have some things they have to get together. It may not be at a place in life that they can totally bring themselves to you, but that doesn't mean that they can't work on that and get there. But you don't want any of that anymore. We don't want to invest the time or the energy to make a relationship work. We want to just come to it and have it instantly fall into place.
And everybody's looking for Mr. Right.
Everybody's looking
or Miss
for
Right.
Or Mr. or Ms. Right, and that person just doesn't exist.
Sometimes.
Here's one.
I don't know of a perfect person.
We got a question from the audience. Yes, ma'am.
My concern and question is, how is man sharing going to affect the black family unit?
Well, brought up earlier, man sharing is something that's gone on in the black family unit for a very long time. I think the difference is that these days it's happening on a wider scale. I think it could be very destructive to the black family unit if the black family unit doesn't decide to find a way to incorporate it so that it can look at the strengths that it might bring rather than at the negative aspects of it. There are some strengths in it. Just the mere fact that you've got more people who are involved, perhaps we could look at ways that we could pool on those resources a lot more. I think we look at it as a very negative thing, and there's a lot of deception that goes on. It makes for an awful lot of destructive behavior.
Okay, thank you for the question. We've got another caller from home. Hi, you're live on City Line.
Hello, my name is Sandra. I'm 19 years old, and I'm calling from the district. I'd like to say that I am sharing a man who's separated from his wife, and he also sees other women besides me. But the way I keep his interest is so creative. Keep his interest in me. I always have something new for him, something to arouse his interest, and keeps him with me more than his other women.
What kinds of things do you use to his interest?
Excuse me?
What kinds of things do you use to keep his interest?
Oh, I know. I change my hairstyles. I'll do just about anything to keep him with me. You know, to photography, we take pictures. We've been to the mountains. He stays with me most of the time. But when he does go out to see other women, I must admit to myself that I do get very lonely.
You know, one of the things that I think that you're comfortable with that's okay. I think we all have to find different ways that we choose to be relationship. But my concern, as I hear you, is that you seem to be doing an awful lot for him. And I really try to encourage women to do things for themselves. And then if they find someone that finds them enhancing as a result of that, makes it even more better. But when you have to work so hard and everything that you do has to be emulated through appeasing him, I have a real concern about that. I think you may want to look at that, because somewhere down the line it's going to get you into trouble with him.
Let me ask you, caller, are you happy with your situation? Are you happy with him? Are you happy with yourself?
Happy with myself sometimes. And he makes me happy a lot of the times. But like I said, when I'm not with him, I become very miserable.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is that your entire, I call it lifeline, is connected through him. And even to the extent that if you're going to learn macrame or whatever, it has to be because it's going to make him happy. And that's what my concern is all about, that somewhere along the line you're going to get very resentful and angry about that. And in some way, that's going to begin to pick away at the relationship.
Okay, for sharing that with us. You'll kind of some of the things that Audrey's telling you. We've got so much more to talk about. Please stay with us after this break.
We're back on City Line, and our guest is Audrey Chapman, who's a family therapist at Howard U. And the subject is man sharing, and boy, it's a subject you can have a lot of fun with. But Audrey, I guess I just got to ask you, I mean, by sharing men, women sharing men, I mean...
In some cases not. What I'm suggesting, I call it the a la carte method. That that women have a variety of friends. You have the friend that comes over and he helps you to put the extra lock on your door, and you might have the other friend that's handy, you know, repairing things, the mechanic, and you might have a friend that you just talk to about some interest that you need some support around. You might have a friend that you call up to talk to him about what you're going through with your lover. That's very useful. You have a variety of friends, and you might have some that are sexual.
Do women generally have many guys that they call friends, the a la carte method, or are we a little bit more traditional?
Well, I think women are beginning to do that. As I go around talking to them, I find women, a number of women that tell me they have some very good friends that they've never had sexual relationships with. Some of them are gay, by the way. A lot of women are finding that gay men make very good friends.
Exactly.
But also older men. In some cases, younger men. Although they claim the younger men, it's much more difficult to keep the sexual aspect out of the way. But it's possible to have. Even still women that say that through the sexual part of it is the most difficult part. But I think we have to understand that when you put man and woman together, their sexual issues are going to come up. You work with those, and you continue to work with them, and eventually you get some good friendships.
Okay, we have some good callers on our line. Hi, you're live on City Line.
Yes, morning. I wanted to make a comment, wanted to really address it to one of the callers about, she said she would do just about anything to break up that, you know, I had the misfortune of breaking up such a relationship many years ago, and I must say it was a misfortune because I was the one that was sitting at home, and he was back, you know, wife, running back and forth, so I wanted to just say, you know, type of situation. Sometimes better leave well enough alone.
And the comment is that often if you find a man or a woman who will cheat on their partner, once you get them, you'll often find that they'll do the same to you.
Oh, yes, definitely. And believe me, after 50 extra pounds of aggravation, I put him out. It's not worth it, and I don't care what you say. It's better to just sometimes be by yourself and be, you know, to have someone there aggravating you.
All righty. Thank you
Audrey,
so
isn't
much.
that the crux of what you're saying? I mean, the women have to learn to do for themselves.
Yeah.
And to realistically.
That's right. The moment you believe that the only way that you can get any satisfaction out of life, any reinforcement, any feelings about being loved from someone else, you really put yourself at the mercy of that other person. It has to start with you first.
Okay, we've got a question from the audience. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Audrey, my question has to do with religion and marriage. It's to me that I wonder, as you traveled around and have spoken to people, if you found that this would affect the idea of marrying a person at all. Since you're going to share, is that going to affect the idea of people thinking in terms of marriage, since you know and maybe you'll be sharing anyway?
Yeah. You know what's ironic? There are two things. One is that people are sharing as a reaction to fear of rejection, because they will end up finding out that there's someone else in the picture. On the other hand, I still find people who are looking for that exclusive relationship because they want to marry. This is particularly the never marrieds. I'm not finding that to be as much the case with the divorcees or with those people who have experienced marriage don't seem to be quite as uptight about it. They want a partner, but they're not particularly looking for marriage. So it really depends on where you are in life. Some of it's very developmental. If you're 20, obviously marriage is much more important to you than if you're 55. So all those things have to be considered.
But if this concept is accepted and flourishes, is me then in the end somehow marriage will be passé.
I have no question in my mind that it'll ever be accepted. Women resent sharing, and I think men are beginning to find it very exhausting, and they're beginning to resent it also.
Thank you for your comments. We're going to take another call from home. Hi, you're live on City Line. Hi, what's your comment or question?
Hello, I'd like to know, where does the moral issue of adultery come into the picture? I mean, recognize that anymore if people are going to be sharing their men.
Yeah, one of the unfortunate things that we've been going through probably since the early 60s when we had the women's movement and then the sexual revolution is that for some went out the window. And I think people are not into the fact that morals are a big issue here. On the other hand, I think they're beginning to experience it emotionally, and that's why everybody's in a lot of pain. I believe ultimately we will get back to relating more exclusively. But if we look historically, we've never done that on 100% basis. If we look in the Bible, there was Solomon and his 100 wives, and I can go on and on and on.
And
David and a few. So we've never had a time in history where there's always been this exclusive arrangement.
Okay, thank you.
We've got a question from the audience. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Ms. Chapman, I'd like to know, you have done a study on man sharing. What about men's response to women sharing, women having more than one man?
Oh, men don't like it at all. They're very vocal about that. They have opinions about the kind of women that share all over the place. And if they find that that's going on in a relationship, they immediately break it up.
So what are we talking about here then? What kind of level in our response to this thing? On the surface, it appears to be very in and it's hip and it's cool. But underneath it all, we're getting to some rather traditional values, aren't we?
You see what's going on is it depends on who decides who wants to share. When men decide they want to share, it's a given. And women are supposed to somehow find a way to deal with that. When women, on the other hand, want to share and advocate it, there's going to be a lot of backlash. There's a double standard.
Audrey, one-on-one psychology, or hasty generalization.
Well,
I mean, you can't say. I mean, you're essentially all women think this way. All men think this way.
No, generally speaking, and you can always find somebody that doesn't fit into the category at all. That when women share, they find even the ones that advocate they're doing it, that there's an awful lot of backlash that comes with it, and an awful lot of guilt. I get letters every day on that. Please help me to cope with the guilt. I'm doing it. I feel miserable about it. Okay.
I'm talk about that guilt when we come back right after these messages.
I want to ask you a question. Would you ever share your man?
Well, when I was married, I did, not knowingly. In fact, it's what broke up the
How did you handle it when you found out?
Oh, I was in a state of shock. Initially, and went through the initial period of pain and mourning and feeling rejected. And then I went back to the drawing board and thought, you know, I could get this together. I have to start thinking about strategies for myself. And I began doing that. One of the things I think that makes a woman feel so desperately connected to men has to do with economics, and I worked very hard on that. And then I asked him to leave.
Audrey, you made the decision to break out the marriage. You're counseling people on coping with it.
Found that if I had had someone in those days to help me to learn how to cope with that, it probably would have been much easier.
Allusions to monogamy, I mean, it's a big deal. A lot of people still believe in it. And with single people also, and so about the method where we deal with different men for different types of relationships. How about other ways in which they might deal with it? Suppose somebody wants to be monogamous but doesn't want to make a commitment to something.
Yeah, then you have to make it very clear, party, and I don't mean initially very clear, but, you know, we can tell when we meet someone whether it's going to be a person that we're more likely to get a monogamous relationship of. I think the kind of women that we go after says a lot about whether we really want commitment or not. I think many of us find ourselves continuing in the same kind of pattern. and we don't want to acknowledge that we have something to do with it.
Okay. Hi, you want to talk to Audrey Chapman?
Yes. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Hi, Daniel.
Hello.
I'd like to direct my questions to the therapist, please.
Yes.
And it's not a la carte because I'm not getting one set of roses, not nary trip over the seas with them. If I had a cart, I would go straight to Egypt.
Okay.
Okay, what's your point?
I want to know how can I get me some roses.
You'll have to go out to the store and buy them yourself.
I don't work. I can't buy them.
Well, then maybe you need to think of some creative ways to find a way to make some funds and do that.
Okay.
As a child.
Thank you for your question.
But you're feeling, though, and I think we've kind of talked about it, that the sharing can lead to some rather callous attitudes towards relationships and the lack of commitment and so forth. Isn't there the danger in that, when knowingly share?
Well, neither side is pretty. If you don't know, I bet you know hard anyway, and you suffer. If you do know, it's painful, and you suffer. It's a matter of which side of the fence you want to be on. I have an old saying, if you know what the weather report is, you know where to take an umbrella, wear boots, etc., okay? And if you go around acting like you don't know and you don't want to know, you're more likely to find yourself set up.
Okay, we're going to try another caller. Hi, do you want to talk to Audrey Chapman?
Yes, hello, Miss Chapman.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Alita Harris, and I was just calling. I wanted to make two comments. The first of which is the attitude that the people are taking. They fail to look at one thing, the health reason for it. Okay, we have so many diseases nowadays that's so incurable, and everybody popping in and out of everything. You wouldn't know where you got it from.
Okay.
Who to go back and say, you gave me this, that, and the other. It cannot be your wife.
Okay, give me second point quickly because we're running out of time.
Sick. I really do. I have a husband, 4 children. If I ever thought someone was sharing my husband, I think I would kill him. I really would, but I really think they need to take the positive outlook of help into this so they can stop, they stop going from person to person. They can cut down on the health-related diseases that we're getting throughout these. So many marriages have diseases and stuff like this. This is where it's probably coming from.
You're exactly right. That is a serious consideration.
Audrey Chapman is a professional counselor at Howard University, and Audrey, you do workshops
on a variety of subjects, but one of the ones that will be coming up next month, February 15th, is mate sharing. We're inviting the men to come and join us.
Well, this is mate sharing.
We have to take a look at Howard University Counseling Service, February 15th, 6. You can call Howard University Counseling Service for more information.
Okay, thank you, Audrey. I see that you've created quite a stir across the country and in Baltimore as well, because we had a lot of experiences shared with us today. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.